Hello, IT enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of My Computer Careers Get Into IT Live, where we do just that, get into all things IT. Happy 2025. Are we still allowed to say Happy New Year? Larry David says no. I'll just throw it out there and say, okay, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope your holidays were great. I hope they were relaxing. We're so glad to be back here with you. And we're especially so glad to be back here featuring a grad. And featuring a grad with a great story. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. But before we kind of jump in, I just want to say hi, Mike. Great to see you again. And we're going to brag about you in just a little bit.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back.
All right. Love it. So if you tuned in before, as you know, Patricia is out in the chat section. So if you have any questions for Mike as we work through this, feel free to drop them in the chat. We love this when it kind of works interactively. We don't mind breaking it up with questions. So I think his story is going to generate a few questions from a few folks. So feel free to do so. And why don't we jump into our topic of the day? So you see that I believe that we called this from fry cook to IT systems engineer. And that's not just clickbait. This is kind of Mike's path, where he started and where he landed. Mike he has an amazing story, which I think is going to resonate with a lot of our career changers out there. But I want to let him share some of those details as we kind of move through this. So why don't we just jump into it? Mike, before we get started, why don't you just introduce who you are and your title?
Okay, well, Aaron, again, thank you for having me. My name is Mike Raimo. I am a systems engineer at First Citizens Bank. And I've been here for about just over a month, and I'm loving it.
So this is as you can tell, a new gig for Mike, one that he earned.
Yep.
And recently we met on Raleigh campus and kind of got Mike's testimonial. Did the whole video thing, set it up, and he was nice enough to donate about an hour and 15 minutes of his time to tell his story, to stand uncomfortably. In a suit, by the way. Thank you. It looked great. But it looked great. It did. But as Mike told his story, it's just all the lights came on. There are so many people, I'm sure, that have been in Mike's shoes. So I certainly wanted to have, and that video, by the way, was just shared by Patricia. It's over on our YouTube channel. You can go check out Mike's testimonial anytime. But I thought it really made good sense to have him come join us here to talk a little bit about where he is now. So, Mike, why don't we talk a bit about your journey and what brought you to My Computer Career? Everything beforehand that got you to My Computer Career. Do you mind sharing a bit about that career path? Because it's just so interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind sharing that at all. So really my story goes back to 2011 when I graduated from college. I got a degree in film and television production, and I got out and I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I was pretty directionless at the time in the mid 2010s. I worked in a warehouse for 4.5 years. I'm originally from Long Island. I was working up there. Then I worked as a personal trainer for 1.5 years. And then my wife and I, we moved to North Carolina in July of 2018. And man, you want to talk about directionless? I was really directionless when we first moved here. Like, I had no job waiting for me, like nothing. I tried a couple of jobs, tried to get a few jobs that didn't work out. And it was getting to the point where I needed to do something. So I walked into Chick-fil-A, and I just was a guy working at Chick-fil-A. And I was 29 years old. I was going nowhere with my career. And it was that Thanksgiving of that year, my wife and I had stayed behind in North Carolina. We had dinner with some people in our apartment complex. And after dinner, we were in the game room. We were all hanging out. And I said to one of my neighbors, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I was coming up on 30 really, really quick. And he said, you're going to have to go back to school. And at first, like I said in my testimonial, I balked at that. I got my bachelor's. I tried to go back to school in the 2010s again to get a business degree, and I didn't want to do that. I did a traditional route. And he said, well, what about trade school? And I was like, I don't know. And then he mentioned, oh, well, there's also this, there's HVAC, there's IT. And when he said IT, that triggered something. I had heard about my computer career on the radio when we first moved here. So I went back and checked out the website. I took the entrance exam, if you will. I passed. I came down to the Raleigh campus and they showed me around. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And I started at my computer career in December of 2018.
So again, I love to hear kind of all of that. And not because you struggled and not because you were a directionless, because, you even early on identified that you had to do something, you figured it out. I mean, you had a degree, but the degree just wasn't what you wanted to do. It wasn't pointing to a career. And, thankfully you had that buddy and that person who tipped you off to, trade school. And all of a sudden here you are. So, you move along, you're a fry cook. Now you're thinking about my computer career because of all the things you just talked about. Did you have an interest in IT before this?
No, nothing. I know it's I'm the millennial generation, and I grew up playing video games. Like, we were the first generation to really have computers in front of us, but and I knew how to like turn one on and go to YouTube and stuff like that. But anything beneath that, I was completely clueless. And and with computers, it's just like, I was thinking like, well, I can't do that. I'm not good at math. I don't know how to code. I can't do anything like that. I really have no interest in IT.
So, by the way, just that always stands out to me. We actually get that question a lot in our inbox. I'm not good at math, or how much math do I need to do what you do? And the answer is very little. I mean, you have to have a basic knowledge of math, but you're not sitting and filling out calculus or completing calculus equations all day.
No. I mean, I did a little bit of math type of thing in my computer career.
Yeah.
But on my day-to-day basis, yes, I mean, like, obviously, like you said, basic math, but I'm not doing anything super complicated.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to I know it's not on our list of questions. I just wanted to throw it out there because we hear that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you decide to enroll, you take that leap, which is a big leap. And, you go from kind of not sure about your career to now considering a career in IT, and you jump into the ITSA program. That's a 7-month program. There's a lot there.
Yep.
So all of a sudden you go from not sure to, okay, maybe I want to be in IT, to, oh no, I'm in a 7-month program. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it really was that, I jumped in, and within about 2 months, I was literally like, what the heck am I doing here? Like, this is insanity, and I said in my, and when I say insanity, I mean that in a good way. It's just like you're learning 2 years worth of IT work in about 7 months. And, I'm not going to sit here and go, everything was lollipops and rainbows. I really struggled. Those first couple of months, especially that first half of the program, I really, really struggled. Like, I almost quit the program. I took some certification exams, failed. I failed 2 attempts on 2 different certifications, and I just kind of threw my hands up, and I was like, this is too hard. I don't want to do this.
Yep.
And I called my computer career, and I said, hey, I want my money back. And they said, okay, well, you took out a loan, but if you really want out of the program, just call this number and we'll let you out. And I didn't call it right away. I kind of chewed it over, also because I was at work that day. And there was a guy on campus, his name was Lou Everett, who was a mentor to me. And I texted him while I was on my lunch break. I said, hey, I really, really need to talk to you tonight. Are you free? He said, yeah, come by my office after work. And I drove to the campus. He was there. I sat down. I said, Lou, I really, really don't know if I can do this. And he was very nice about it. He was giving me the motivational speech, which I appreciated. But when he got blunt, that's when it all sat in. Because he said to me, if you quit this program, you're going to be on the hook for $22,000, and you're just going to go back to working at Chick-fil-A, making $10 an hour. He said, we see how hard you're working. We see how hard you're trying. Even if you walk out of here with 0 certifications, we will assist you with at least getting a help desk job. And when he said that, that made me feel a lot better. You know, and I would love to say that, like, oh yeah, that's what spurred me on, and I got all the certifications. And look, the truth is that I didn't walk out with all the certifications, but I walked out with the knowledge of what I needed to get into the field.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of really good times. Like the people that were in my class were just fantastic. I had 2 really, really great instructors, Alex and Terrence, and we would just bust on each other. We learned, and we were all really supportive of each other. Like, so if there was something that one person didn't understand, we would meet up outside of class at each other's houses, and we would study. You know, so it's a very welcoming and inviting environment, and we all are kind of there for the same reasons, and we're all there to lift each other up.
We always talk about that network of support. You know, I think that my computer career tried to put around students, and it sounds to me like, you know, at least some of that worked in your favor, being able to work with Lou and others. And speaking of that network of support, by the way, Mike, Alex found out you were going to be on the show today, and he was going to join, and he was, you know, going to cheer you on and everything else. He couldn't make it, but he wanted me to pass along congratulations on kind of where you are in your journey. So FYI,
when you
go
thank
ahead.
you for that.
Yeah, of course.
No, I was going to say thank you for that. And when you see Alex again, please tell him just thank you.
Will do, for sure. And by the way, everyone, Mike is joining us from work. He is in a quiet room at First Citizens Bank right now. So we certainly appreciate you taking your lunch hour to join us here. You know, I'm kind of wondering,
no problem.
when it comes to that conversation with Lou, and, you know, you say the light kind of went on, and understandably so. You know, you're either going to have to be on the hook for 20 grand, or you're going to have to go back to, you know, paying $10 or getting paid $10 an hour and still have to pay that off. But when you say the light kind of went on, what adjustments did you make in the program, if you don't mind?
So what I did was that, you know, I still took it seriously, but I didn't take it as, and what I'm about to say, it's just the best way I can describe it. I didn't take it as life or death. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta learn this, because everything is riding on this, which it was. Don't get me wrong, there was no plan B, but I started to relax a little, and it made me see that, oh, people do see that I'm actually trying. You know, I'm not just, you know, showing up, putting in the bare minimum effort, and just hoping at the end something is going to fall in my lap. Because trust me, I saw a lot of those guys. I saw guys that barely showed up to class. I saw guys that didn't test for certifications. Heck, there was a guy I was friends with. He just disappeared halfway through. He didn't say goodbye. So the fact that they saw how hard I was working and how hard I was trying, and that the school, that's what made me feel a lot more comfortable.
Got it. Makes a lot of good sense. You got a fan over on LinkedIn. I can't see the name, but it's Let's Go Mike, all caps. So there we go. Nice to see.
Thank you, LinkedIn user.
I'm sure that LinkedIn user is one of our folks that are cheering you on, that know you well. So great to see that. Thank you for that. Okay, so you go through the program. You know, you kind of rededicate yourself, for lack of a better word. I know you were dedicated to it, but you found a way to get to the end, to get to the finish line. which is what I always harp
Yeah.
on when I'm talking to people out on LinkedIn and I'm responding to people. Just get to the finish line. You did that. Huge goal, huge accomplishment. So you graduate, and then you have one, again, your path is interesting, your journey to where you are. Do you mind sharing some details of that journey?
To how I got to where I'm at now?
I guess up to where you are now. You graduated, and then you
Oh,
don't have to
yeah.
go specifics of where you landed, but
Oh,
just kind of how you progressed.
okay. Yeah, definitely. So I finished the program in July 2019. And, there was nothing waiting for me. There was no job waiting for me. There was no company outside the campus saying, "Hey, get in the car. We're taking you to your job." I After July, I just took like a month and I just started applying to jobs. And I remember one day I was at the pool in our apartment complex, just vegging out, hanging out, and I was on my phone. I saw a job and just threw my resume in there. It was at UNC. And surprisingly, they called me back. They're like, "Hey, we'd love to give you an interview." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'd love to take the interview." So I took the interview, and it was for a 6-month contract going from Windows 7 to Windows 10 to upgrade all the computers. And I did well enough on the interview that they offered me the job, and that was my first job in IT. And so a lot of stuff happened from there. So I'll try to go quick. I was at that job for about 6 months. And then from there, I reached out to My Computer Career, looking for seeing if there was anything else, seeing if I could get a more permanent job because I was a contractor. And they came back with another company called Carolina Dental Management. And that job, I ended up getting it. It ended up being a facilities manager position. Really didn't have anything to do with IT. I think the company wanted one thing and it morphed into another thing. And that was in the middle of the pandemic as well, the summer of 2020. While I was there, I just kind of realized, yeah, I just spent a fortune on IT school. I think I should be working in IT. And I kind of realized I'm going to have to do help desk at some point. If you're watching this, at some point in your career, you're going to have to do help desk. Get it done in the beginning of your career. That's the best advice I can give you. Just get it over with.
Yep.
So I was working at Wake Radiology on the help desk, and for the first 6 months, I was just taking calls and just doing basic things. And then one day I went up to my boss. I said, "Hey, listen, I don't want to just sit here and answer phone calls all day. Is there anything else I can do?" And he said, "Not really." And then one day somebody just needed their desk moved. And I said, "I'll do it," because I was in the office and the hardware guy, he was always busy. So I moved it. And from there, I went from doing just help desk to help desk / desktop support. And it was really great that when I hit my 1 year at Wake Radiology, they said, "Hey, we're going to give you a bonus because we see how hard you're working." And that was so great because they didn't even want to interview me at Wake Radiology because I didn't have any help desk experience. So to go from, "No, we're not going to give you an interview," to, "Hey, here's a bonus to see how hard you're working," that was, that was a win for me. And I liked Wake Radiology enough, but I knew that I had gone as far as I could there. I was ready to move up and ready to move on to something different.
Yeah.
And I remember and then it was in October of 2021, a recruiter reached out to me. I was in Disney World, and she said, "Hey, I have this help desk position at a bank called City National Bank. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, how much?" And the pay was much better. And they were like, "Can you interview tomorrow?" I'm like, "I'm in Disney World right now." They're like, "It's no big deal. You'll be fine." So I interviewed the next day, and I ended up getting the position. So I left Wake Radiology, went over to City National Bank. I was on their help desk. Not to get into details, but some stuff happened behind the scenes where I was promised a position and something happened where I didn't get the position. And so I said, you know what, I'm really, really done doing help desk. I've been doing help desk for a year and a half at that point. I was really ready to move on. So a company named Dermavant reached out to me, and they said, hey, we would love to bring on to this contract. It's more money. And it was exactly what I was looking for. It's like desktop support. So I left City National Bank. I went over to Dermavant, and I'm working at Dermavant there for about a month and a half. And again, I checked my LinkedIn profile, and a recruiter reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this role." And I said, "Okay, yeah, who's it with?" And he's like, "Oh, it's with City National Bank." And I was hesitant at first, but then I saw the department, and I had kept in contact with the manager of that department, and him and I talked, and I said, "Okay, I would love to come back." And he's like, "All right, we got to do this properly." So I'm going through the interview process. And while I'm going through the interview process at City National Bank to go back, I'm like, should I really be doing this? I've only been at Dermavant for like 3 months. Well, Dermavant made the decision for me because on May 4th, the day after I did my second interview at City National Bank, they ended up terminating my contract. So, and then it was like a few days later, I ended up getting a job at City National Bank, and I was there for about 2.5 years. I ran their depot, and I did imaging. I did inventory. I configured computers. I configured computers for contractors. I did. I sent out iPads. I sent out iPhones. I collected MiFis. And I just want to take this real quick. Anybody who thinks that IT is just sitting at a computer and you're just hunched over and you're coding and you're just taking phone calls all day, resetting passwords. Yes, that is an aspect of IT, but I didn't realize this when I was in the program, but the IT field is so broad that there's a job anywhere. Yes, what I did at City National Bank was technically IT, but it was a lot more logistics than anything else. I was able to rely on my warehouse experience of the past.
Yeah.
So I really thrived there. I really liked that job. But again, I was a contractor, and at the time, we had just had our first baby, and now we have a second baby coming our way. And I was looking for something a little more permanent. So, I had been applying all last year. Nothing really was hitting. Nothing really was biting. And then a recruiter just randomly reached out to me from First Citizens Bank. And she said, "Hey, I have this position. I think you'd be great for it." So I'm like, "All right, here's my resume." And I didn't expect to hear from her. Excuse me. And she ended up getting back to me. They're like, "Yeah, they want to interview you." So I had one interview. Then that moved to a second interview. This all happened within a week. And then the day after Veterans Day, I ended up getting this position. And I'm a permanent employee. Go ahead.
I'm going to stop you there just because that's exactly, kind of where I want to lead to next. But I want to go back a little bit. And I just want to say the reason I wanted Mike to go through that, to detail out kind of his path is because it shows a couple of things. Number one, it shows, and we always harp on this, if you're willing to put in the effort and if you're willing to show your value, you are going to move up in IT. You're going to move up anywhere, but you're especially going to move up in IT. So Mike's point, don't be afraid to take the help desk, the help desk position. I can't tell you how much we try and harp on that in this conversation, in this chat we have every week, because look where it leads. It leads to Mike jumping in, showing he's fine with doing that, showing his value, and then moving on and advancing and not being afraid to take some risks. So Mike, not just to gloss to butter you up here because you're joining me, but I think it's really impressive the way you were able to kind of bet on yourself in advance.
Well, thank you. And the other things that I would stress as well, my first IT job, when I walked into UNC, I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I've never been the smartest guy in the room, but I can be the hardest worker in the room. So while guys were just kind of resting on their laurels and going, oh, I can install that, I was unboxing laptops. I was crawling under desks.
Right.
I have done the on-call rotation. I have done the help desk work. I have done the nitty-gritty. I have done the jobs that nobody else wanted to do. I have worked tons of overtime. I have come in early. I have stayed late. I have been the only one on the help desk when the most important piece of software went down and I was getting flooded with calls.
Right.
So the thing is that what I'm trying to say is that whatever position you go into, if you see an opportunity to do something extra and go above and beyond, take it. You got to take it. You got to take your career by the horns. And I learned this in my computer career as well. Somebody said this quote. It's from Jay-Z, the great poet that we have. He said, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man."
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is look at yourself as your business. So that means when you leave my computer career, continue to get certifications, continue to take boot camps, continue to take classes, really explore what you want to do. And also you have to be a little shrewd and a little keen to go, yeah, where I'm at, I may not be able to move up. I may not be able to get off the help desk. I may not be able to get off desktop support. I may have to go somewhere else. Or what you want to do, whether that's cybersecurity, networking engineer, or whatever, it may take a few years.
Right.
But as long as you're consistently grinding, I don't like to use the word grind because I think it's overplayed. As long as you're consistently going in your career, keeping your head down, investing in yourself, and just doing your job and going above and beyond when it's warranted, you'll get to where you want to be.
And another really key point there that Mike just shared, never stop learning, never stop learning. And whether that's if you go to my computer career or if you go elsewhere, if you whatever you're doing out in the world of IT, continue to advance, continue to learn new skills. It's critically important. It's gonna make you even more valuable to all the folks. So I think it's a fantastic message.
And
go ahead.
And what I was going to say is that not even and not just that, this field is constantly evolving. You have to keep learning to keep up because the minute you fall behind, you may get left behind.
Yeah, well said. Very well said.
That's just what I wanted to say.
And we have we have Jennifer with our career services department saying, "Great job, Mike." You saw the comment. Markeisha over on LinkedIn, you're such an inspiration. Thank you for your time. So really nice. Thanks, folks, for that.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, there's a few questions that I have about whether you felt prepared for your career. And I'm guessing, like a lot of folks, the answer is yes, but no. So, and it's understood. But let's talk about where you are now. You talked about First Citizens Bank, and you're a systems engineer. I don't fully understand what that means, but that's just because I'm a PR guy. But can you kind of talk about your role and your responsibilities?
Yeah. So pretty much I'm still learning everything. It's as a systems engineer, pretty much what I'm doing is I'm making sure that our database is up to speed. I'm running reports and checking on laptops that haven't been on the network in about 30 days. I am emailing end users saying, hey, I see you have 2 laptops. We need your old one back. Also, I'm filling out spreadsheets, making sure that requests are handled in a timely manner, and also doing some investigative work like, hey, why did you ask for this specific keyboard mouse combo? Learning more, trying to learn as much as I can, but that's really where I'm at right now.
Got it. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah. I think it's great so far. It's been not just financially been a blessing to my family, but it's been, really great because this came at a great time. I got a family. I've got a baby boy on the way coming in June 1st. I already have a daughter that's born. I've got great benefits. I've got 401k, and
Perfect.
it's just wonderful. I'm really happy that I'm here.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Got a fan over on YouTube says, I'm grateful for this motivation. Thank you. So there we go. All right. I'm grateful for this motivation. Thank you all. So we are at 12:30. So I want to end it just with this final question. And of course, I asked you this in our testimonial, but for all the folks that are watching right now, why don't we end it right here for that person on the fence about whether to take the leap into an IT career or to take the leap at my computer career? What would you say?
To quote Nike, just do it.
Nice.
It's the best. My computer career is the best. I learned the foundational skills that I needed to get out into the field, and it's the best. You're gonna have that network with you to help motivate you. You're gonna be treated as a person and not just a number that they're gonna pump through. Just do it. If you're one of these people that thinks something magically is gonna change, it's not. It may not. It may, but it may not. You got to put the work in. Whether that's you don't like your career, you don't want to go to college and take on all that debt to get a degree in something that you're just like, what is this? This is the place to go. And like I said in my testimonial, it's affordable, it's fast, and you will learn the foundation needed to get into the field.
It's a fantastic stopping point. I think you're going to be on a billboard one day, Mike. Well done.
Maybe with the lights turned off.
Believe me, I understand that completely. What did I miss? Anything?
I just wanted to just one last thing. I'm not self-promoting. I'm not doing anything like that. But if you are somebody who would like to hear a little, because I left out a lot of details. If you want to hear more details of my story, if you're just asking for advice, please feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'm Michael Raimo on LinkedIn. I would love to just talk with you and see if I can help you a little bit.
That is incredibly generous. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks that take you up on that. Go watch Mike's story. He shares more there as well. So when you do reach out to him, you'll be able to ask some poignant questions. And Mike is obviously, as you can tell, a great guy that sounds like he'd be very happy to help. So Mike, thank you for that. Thank you for everything you've done. Don't think you're getting off the hook. I will be back in touch at some point. And, just want to say thank you for
Sounds everything. Good. No, and listen, thank you for, I've been wanting to do this for a few years at this point, but I know something happened in 2020. I can't remember at this point, so that kind of derailed it. But I've been wanting to do this for years. I wanted to give back to my computer career and the people going there, people on the fence. And look, I'm just going to say this right now. They did not pay me. I haven't taken anything from my computer career. They have not, nothing. I'm not a paid actor. I'm just a regular guy. I actually reached out to my computer career to see if I could give a testimonial. So, take for that what you want. You can believe me. You cannot believe me. Really, thank you, Aaron, for everything that you did.
Don't thank me, buddy. Don't thank me. Not at all. And by the way, that reminds me, anybody else out there that wants to share their story, reach out. Please reach out. Reach out to whomever your contact might be. If you need to, it's public relations at mycomputercareer.edu. We all see that on the team, so send a note. We would happily capture your story. So anyway, that aside, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It feels good to kind of be back into the swing of this. And we will be back into the swing of it next week, Friday at noon. We'll do it again. Topic kind of to be determined at this point, but we'll find somebody. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for joining us. And Mike, especially to you, really appreciate 35 minutes of your time during your lunch hour. And, certainly want to wish you a great weekend and everyone else out there a great weekend.
Yes. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Mike, if you don't mind hanging around.
No, I don't mind hanging around at all.
All right. We'll talk to you later, folks.